That's a good question. Yeah. So I settled in Shanghai in 2015, and I could already notice the beginning of a shift. Fashion is taking more and more importance over tradition. Um, Two examples are the abuse of hot spicy food, which has become a fashion. And from a health point of view, spicy food is a drama. Well, a
Mhm.
little spicy food reasonable, but the way it has become a competition to the one in some restaurants, you can even not ask them to cook anything without spices. They will even not try.
True, true.
Um, but I think another very important switch, and this I can see it every day in my practice, is the effect it has on people health, is the impact on between 20 and 22 of the COVID period. And many people haven't, most people haven't completely recovered of that. That was a huge trauma. Uh, in all treatment, in all problem, there is a component of stress. And these components of stress has increased a lot and making treating people more and more complex because I cannot solve the stress. Huh? It's a way of life. I have to work on the consequences.
Here's the next question actually about how to balance stress because I think it's most of the time can be solved uh, by balancing it, right? And the idea of balance itself is central to traditional Chinese medicine, as you know. Uh, so my question to you, how do you reconcile this with Western models, which mostly focused on to target specific symptoms and diseases?
First, it's very important to keep in mind I'm doing osteopathy. Okay. And osteopathy is very different to what is usually considered as Western medicine, also called allopathic medicine, which mainly use drugs. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, osteopathy mostly follows the same concept of Chinese traditional medicine. Okay. Uh, it's just, I think, to explain in a simple way, it's
Mhm.
just a difference of perspective. Okay. Like looking at the same object, but with two different direction. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so if we consider three therapeutic concepts that are very similar, Chinese traditional medicine, osteopathy, and functional medicine, they all consider the same foundation, homeostasis. Okay.
Mhm.
Homeostasis is when we are in good health. Okay.
Mhm.
It's when everything is balanced inside the body. Okay. So if we look at it from the Chinese traditional medicine point of view, they consider this from energetic way.
Mhm.
Okay. There is for Chinese traditional medicine, there is many flow of energy in the body called the qi.
Mhm.
Okay. This flow shall be balanced for the body to reach homeostasis. Okay. And it's important to keep in mind that this balance is different for everyone. There is not one universal balance. Everyone have more yin, more yang, or different balance of energy. Okay. Uh, so when the flow is unbalanced, either in excess or either in default, it breaks the homeostasis and symptoms appear. Okay. So uh, it's important to keep in mind that the symptoms are the result of the imbalance, not the cause. Okay. So important is to find the cause, and the cause for Chinese traditional medicine is an unbalance of the circulation of energy.
Mhm.
Okay. So traditional medicine will restore the balance of the flow of energy and the body will recover homeostasis. Okay. Now, if we look at the perspective of osteopathy, it's the same body, just we look from a different angle. And we consider the body as movement. Okay. And movements are important. There is movement of fluid, like the blood circulation. There is a movement of breathing. Okay. There is a movement that is less known but super important, which is a movement of the axe from the cranium and the sacrum. Okay. Very essential movement. You have the movement of the body that we can, when we move our joint for our activity. And we have the movement of the organ, at least to follow a movement. And some organs, they even need a whole movement, like a stomach. It have to crush food. Okay. Right. Also the digestive tube, a lot of peristaltic. Our heart is beating, lungs. Well, anyway, there is a lot of movement. And basically, osteopathy considers that if anything alter or restricts those movements, it creates symptoms. And we look for the restriction of movement, and we restore the freedom of movement to restore homeostasis. But what is interesting is I'm sure that where Chinese traditional medicine find restriction of the circulation of energy, okay, I will find with osteopathy restriction of movement. And where I find maybe not at the same place, but they are probably linked. Okay. And where I find a restriction of movement, Chinese traditional medicine will find a change in the circulation of energy. And you can treat from one side on the other side. You will get exactly the same result because that's the same problem, the same body. Okay.
Very interesting. So basically, they're the same things, just, there is an expression that the truth is always the same. The philosophers tell about it with different words.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
Cool. So, but I wonder, do patients, for example, in your clinic, in Shanghai clinic, respond differently to osteopathy than those that you used to treat in Europe, for example? And another follow-up question is, how does cultural trust in foreign therapies play a role in China? Because, Chinese patients, very conservative.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. So, even without considering the cultural aspects, this notion of conservative, because it becomes judgmental, there is a very important concept to consider when it comes to healthcare, treatment, and so on. Many people know the word but don't understand the concept, which is the placebo effect. Okay. Placebo effect is very important in a treatment. And it concerns every kind of treatment. Whatever type of treatment you do, you have to deal with the placebo effect. Okay. Just to give you quickly, you take, for instance, 200 people having the same problem. 100 people will get a treatment. 100 people will get placebo. This means something that doesn't produce any effect, but is supposed to not produce any effect. And we compare the improvement of the two people. So if we take two simple examples that everyone can see because it's very common, morphine. Morphine is a painkiller, but when you give morphine to people, it's not for a little hurt or a little headache. When people get morphine, they are in a very, very, very high level suffering. Okay. Yeah. When they do a placebo test on morphine, 35% of people would take placebo. It means they only receive water, get their pain fully relieved. Just because they believe they took morphine and it should remove their pain. 35%. Okay. That's enormous. Even more impressive. Everyone knows that the major side effect of chemotherapy, the treatment for cancer, is you lose your hair. You become completely bald. In placebo testing of chemotherapy, 50% of people would take placebo completely lose their hair. They become bald just because they think they are taking a chemotherapy and they will lose their hair.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So placebo effect is a reality. So whatever is the way you treat people, whatever is the quality of your practice, the most important thing you have to do as a side job, make patient trust what you are doing. Because you can have done the best treatment in the world. If the patient doesn't trust what
Mm.
you've done, there is a lot of chance it doesn't work. And it's linked to another important thing, which again is a very similar concept between Chinese traditional medicine and osteopathy. In fact, if we are honest, we don't heal people. And I'm very honest with my patients. I tell them, I don't know how to heal people. No one can heal anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Only the body heals itself. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, all the treatment, whatever it is only helping the body to be able to heal itself. And it's not about Chinese or whatever. It's just even many of the foreign national I treat in Shanghai, they have no idea what is osteopathy.
Mm.
And it's very difficult to get trust if people don't know what you are doing.
Yeah.
But with Chinese people, I had another problem that make it even more difficult. Is we're talking about fashion before. There is one fashion in China that cause a lot of problem for health professional is many people believe that the treatment need to be painful to be useful. While partially the way I practice osteopathy is very gentle.
Right.
Because again, if we come back to what we just mentioned before, this means I'm not healing people. I'm just helping their body to recover its healing capacity. You can imagine that if I'm torturing the body and I make people suffering, there is few chance the body want to react in a positive way. While if you do in a very gentle way, respectful of the body itself, there is much more chance you trigger a good healing.
You made amazing job basically doing what you're doing, but you also blended this um, traditional way of healing, which is actually the law of medicine, which is, if I'm not mistaken, not to harm, right? Not to.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah. Primare, not nocere.
Yeah, this is not a philosophy. This is actuality for your patients, for myself as well, because I truly believe that um, sometimes you, let's say, busy, you cannot see what really restricts your movements, and simply by just visiting you, you not only show me, but you really help me to avoid this in the future, which is very important too. And this is about lifestyle. How people may contact you if they seek for health advice, or if they're lucky, uh, even osteopathy treatment.
So the two easiest way to reach me, like everyone in China and in Shanghai, I'm using WeChat. I've sometimes have requests by email. So yeah, also that's the two easiest way to get in touch with me.
Dennis, thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and ideas.
You're welcome. My pleasure.